In today's training, I will be talking about common system acronyms, harbor form abbreviations, and home office request submission type definitions. We will first talk about acronyms. On the left-hand side, I have an acronyms PDF we have created. It's going to show specific Atlas acronyms as well as paperwork acronyms that you should become familiar with in the system. The first Atlas specific acronym is Books and Records, BRD. Anytime you see a BRD number in Atlas, that should signify to you that that is an image. All submissions made, check blotters, home office requests, and NAFs alike all have a corresponding books and record. If we wanted to see what that looks like in Atlas, we can look at Rose Vandenhout's profile. If we scroll down on the right-hand side, we have an area that says books and records. I can see here I have some BRD numbers. To see better information, I can click View All, and I can now see I have a bunch of images that have been uploaded with corresponding submissions. Specifically, for example, I can see these two images uploaded here have been inputted as NAFs, so I can assume that these are CIPs. We also have C- numbers. Anytime you see a C-, that means a check has been blotted. If we wanted to see what that looks like in Atlas, again, if we scroll down in Rose's profile, we can see that we have a C- number of 25767. This signifies to me that this is a check that has been blotted. The next submission code is CMP. CMP stands for Home Office Request, and that looks just like this in the system. We can see a CMP number of 56013, and that signifies that is paperwork that has been uploaded. Home office requests are for all paperwork that are not CIPs and not checks. So anytime I see a CMP number, I can assume to find some kind of application paperwork, distribution paperwork, Benny change paperwork, broker-dealer changes, anything like that. But again, home office requests are not for CIPs and they're not for checks. The last one is a NAF. Anytime you see NAF in Atlas, that means new account form. And that means a CIP has been inputted. If I scroll up a little bit further in Rose's profile, I can see she has numerous NAFs that have been inputted for her. If I wanted to see the NAF specific information about what that CIP had, I could click into that and see that. So those are the Atlas acronyms that you will become very familiar with when you start using Atlas. The second half are paperwork acronyms. Harbor processes and submits DocuSigned paperwork into Atlas for their advisors. Whenever Harbor indexes and uploads paperwork into Atlas ourselves, we use very specific acronyms to name that paperwork. And these are listed here. For things such as Schwab transfer forms, we will label that as an ACAT, or for things such as liquidations or letter of understandings, we will label those as LICs or LOU. This is included in here so that you can see and better understand abbreviations that you might see in the system. The second page that we have to talk about are harbor form abbreviations. Whenever you are uploading paperwork into Atlas, it's best to keep your PDF titles as concise, but also as descriptive as possible. If you can see, we have some different ways that you can write different types of forms. Most commonly is something like application. We will always use app. Similarly, if we see something like a letter of understanding, we will always use LOU. Distribution, we have shortened to DIST. We shorten things like advisory disclosure to ADV DISC, the asset management agreement, advisory agreement, just like this. As you start labeling paperwork to upload, we want to try to keep things as standardized as possible, which is the purpose of this document. This is something that will help you as you start uploading your own things into the system, and it's very helpful to have a better process for everyone at Harbor. The last thing we're going to talk about are submission type definitions. Submission type definitions are specific to home office requests. If I were to pull up my Atlas screen on the left-hand side and go to my home page to look at the home office request area, I'm going to see that I have some different types I can choose through here. This form on the left is to help better describe what these submission types are and what kind of paperwork we can expect to see in there. The first one is advisory agreement. Advisory agreement are for specifically Harbor advisory agreements only. So that includes our asset management services agreement, our asset management addendum, or third-party service agreements. Again, those are Harbor-specific forms, and those must always be separated from the application they correspond with, because putting it in this advisory agreement submission type confirms that it's going to go to a set group of people at Harbor so that we can set up the billing appropriately. Advisory new account paperwork submission type is for specifically new Schwab and pass applications along with their corresponding paperwork. So if you have a Schwab Roth application with its transfer form and its advisory disclosure, we'd want to see that all together in one document submitted in this advisory new account paperwork submission type. Again, this is just for Schwab and Pass applications with their corresponding paperworks. Please keep applications with their corresponding transfers, distributions, money links, disclosures, anything like that in one cohesive document, in one cohesive submission. The only paperwork that needs to be separated from the application is the advisory agreement. Advisory other are for any forms that are for an already established advisory account. So say you have a past account that was opened 3 years ago and the client just needs to do a beneficiary change. Since it's just a Benny change for an account that's already open, this would constitute it going underneath advisory other. You should never be submitting advisory agreements or any type of application in this advisory other submission type. This is only for paperwork for already opened accounts. Pershing brokerage are for 7HB retail accounts only, regardless of if it's an application or a Benny change. If it's a 7HB account, you will want to use this Pershing brokerage submission type. Direct business is for any mutual fund, variable annuity, or fixed account as well. Direct business can constitute anything for applications, Benny changes, BD change forms, as long as it's that mutual fund, variable annuity, fixed account. It constitutes as direct business, so you'd want to submit it there. Other is an absolute last resort. Please do not submit anything in here unless it really does not fall into any of these above types. And the last one is a newer one we've added for signature guarantees. If you have paperwork that is requiring you to have it medallion signature guaranteed, you can choose that submission type, and it'd be best to leave us a note in the request details, just further confirming where it needs to be sent to after. Once Harbor has medallion signature guaranteed it, we will then upload the stamped version back into your original submission so you can see that later. Just to make note, for signature guaranteed paperwork, we are not allowed to send you back the original paperwork. The original with the stamp has to be sent on to the company, but you are welcome to look at it and take the copy of it for your own records. And lastly, we do have a transition paperwork submission type available in there, but that is solely for Harbor's back office use. Please never use that submission type. If you do use that submission type, we will likely reject it and have you resubmit it in the correct type. These are just some brief definitions and explanations for our abbreviations and our submission types, as well as some acronyms we have available. These forms that I've gone through today, these are all forms available on Harbor's website. You can find that within the training and resources within the Atlas area. If you have any questions about anything regarding this video specifically, please email atlas@harborinv.com.